Well, and you've got curly hair like I do. And
Love your hair.
thank you. But there are days where you wake up and you look in the mirror and you're like, what the hell is it doing today?
More often than not, yes.
Yeah. And there's nothing you can do to fix curly hair. It's just going to be what it is.
It's just wild.
Hello and welcome to the Essence of You podcast. I am your host, Steph Lokelani, and I am here with my friend Celia Espinoza. And we just figured it out. It was probably 2024 through the Boise Metro Chamber's Be Wise program, which is for Boise young professionals. And it is a program where young professionals sign up. And Be Wise is where they sign up for a mentor. Right. And I was asked to be a mentor. I walked in. I had no idea what I was doing. And we ended up in the same group. Mm-hmm. That was pretty fun.
It was awesome. And I'm so glad. You were my first choice. I think you were my only choice. Because I think you were the only female there.
I was the only female there.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted. So, yeah, it was great. It was such a cool experience.
It really was. And one of the requirements was to meet, was it once a month? Mm-hmm. For like 6 months.
Yep.
And so we did that, and it had to be at a Boise Chamber location. So, coffee shop or a restaurant or an event center that is a member of the chamber. And so we always met at the coffee shop downtown at the warehouse. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice walk from work because I'm right there.
Nice.
But it was cool because I felt like it was such a collaboration versus, talking to a mentor.
Yeah.
It was all of us talking through stuff together.
Yes. I felt like we were all each other's mentors.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We always brought something to the table. I remember there were times where I was just so frustrated about whatever. And we would all just kind of talk about it. Mm-hmm. Everybody had their own perspective of it. And I loved that.
I did too.
Yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with anybody?
I don't. I had to walk away from BYP, and it was a hard decision, but yeah, having to walk away from it right before I was considering, trying to do the leadership Boise. Yeah, I just kind of had to walk away.
That's okay. Life
for
happens.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life happens like that. What made you decide to do BYP and Be Wise?
Oof. So I was working at that time. I was working for the executive assistant at IHFA, and she was the one that had brought it up. She said, "I think you would be good at this. You should consider it." And so she sent me the information, and I sent it over to my bosses, and they were just like, "Yes, you should do this." So they've always been just such great supporters of things like that for us, and any type of growth opportunities, they were, always for it. So it was scary, and I think that was the point, right? Like they wanted me to get out of my comfort zone and get out there and learn to network and do all the things, because part of our work is, talking to developers. And so yeah, it was scary. Yeah. Networking is, I don't know, it's just, it's hard. You have to work at networking. I don't know how people do it.
I don't either.
They just go out there and talk to people, and I'm like, oh, I wish I had that.
Same.
It's work for me.
Well, that was one of our topics of one of one of our sessions that we got together was networking. And we came up with a plan where we don't do the small talk. We don't say, how's the weather? Or did you watch what's our baseball team name?
The Boise Hawks.
The Boise Hawks. Did you watch the Boise Hawks last night?
Yeah.
We don't ask those questions. We ask so did you study about Pluto in elementary school? Because imagine asking someone that at a networking event and they'd be like, what?
Yeah, they're not expecting that.
No. Don't you want to hear about my job? No, I don't. I want to know, what did you learn about Pluto in elementary school?
Right. Who are you outside of all of this?
Yes, exactly.
It was such a great challenge. And I tried it. I think I tried it with Mike Krause.
Oh,
we had gone to there was like an event at the warehouse, and we started talking about like his journey and how he like what he was doing before he came out here, which was so interesting because I had a story kind of similar to, it was very like mission oriented. And so, yeah, it was really fascinating to hear that. But it was just like, ooh, that was scary. But he made it so easy. He talks to everybody, so
he does.
It was easy.
Yeah, he makes those conversations very easy. He and I actually have coffee every couple of months or so.
Love that.
Yeah. And he was a guest on my very first episode of this podcast. And he did the podcast takeover that came out last week.
Oh.
And that he was the host, and that was for a Leadership Boise event. So he ended up doing Leadership Boise. He's graduating tonight. And part of the program in the second year is that you facilitate, a group.
Right.
Yeah, and you get to facilitate the days, whether it's media day or there's a day called quality of life where you focus on the arts and just like being in life. And then there's another day that's about infrastructure. So all the highways and the freeways that come through here and what it really means for our city with all the building and all the new things that are going on and how infrastructure can be affected by all the new builds. And then, that is a topic of that day, or could be a topic of that day. And then you've got Government Day, where depending on who's facilitating it, you can go tour the Capitol building, which is neat for anyone who's never been on a tour there. And then the closing day, and I think there's a specific name for it. I can't remember, but that was his day, was closing day. And in that day, the first years learn what they're facilitating in their second year.
Ooh.
And so that's when we did the podcast takeover, and I was a guest along with Angela Taylor and Kevin Bailey from Idaho Nonprofit Center, Idaho Community Foundation. And it was great. It was awesome.
I'm excited to listen.
It was a good conversation about leadership, legacy, and succession.
Love that.
Yeah.
Such a great idea to have him take over like that. He's perfect for that stuff.
Oh, he is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
While we were in Be Wise together, you went on a retreat. It was for to go pick herbs and learn about the grasses and the plants in Idaho and what you can do with those. Tell me about that.
I still think about those days. It was part of Darcy Williamson. She's I guess a very well-known herbalist in Idaho, and it's on her property. But it was Renee Silvas who was facilitating this retreat, and our food was made for us from the gardens there, and just locally sourced by someone who comes in and cooks for the retreat. And they have these sheep wagons, I think, that you can stay at on the property. And I used to work with a shaman. This is going to get so woo-woo.
I love it.
I used to work with a shaman, and we would get together and do women's circles once a month out in Marsing. And it felt very similar to this because it was more of spiritual, we would actually bring our tents and sleep outside right next to the Snake River. So it felt very much aligned to that. And we were right off the Nimipu River there, Payette River. So, she had a syllabus. We would get up and do yoga, and I'm not a yogi. I don't know much about it. I think I fell asleep a few times.
That's the way to do it. I'm studying yoga.
Really?
And yes, when you can fall asleep, that is advanced because that means that you are present, you are in the moment, and you are experiencing yoga.
Okay. We have to call Miss Renee because she was laughing that she was and a couple students fell asleep, and she looked at me and I'm like, was it me?
I've fallen asleep. I've woken myself up snoring sometimes. Be like, uh-oh.
It was one of those moments where I was like, did I fall asleep? But it was just so peaceful there. And even just being in the house, because oftentimes we would all kind of go in our own ways. And the way this property is, I encourage everyone to go out there. It's just open to you. You can stay inside the house. They have a library, and there's windows everywhere that faces the river. It's just so serene. And the books that they have there are, just herbalism and spirituality, and just you just feel so grounded every moment you're there. I love to cold plunge anytime I'm near a river. So they have a sauna, and I think it was right. I want to say it was right before. Oh, actually, it was in the middle, because it was like we went into the sauna. We all sort of, the things that come out in there. I don't know if you've ever done a sweat.
I have.
But just everything that releases. And we had to take a break. And I'm like, does anybody else want to go cold plunge? Nobody? Cool. And I just went down there, and it's just that reset I needed. I just loved it so much. We also went and foraged. They have a cool little spot up there that they took us to, and were just kind of teaching us about the different herbs. And I don't remember right now what we picked, but it ended up in our food for dinner that evening. Just making connections with these women, and you find that even though for me, I oftentimes feel disconnected from my culture, especially, that we have more in common than we think we do.
Yes.
Because as we're talking, I'm just like, girl, same. I know, I get that, I feel that. And it just takes moments like that of just like being open, being vulnerable, for you to realize that we're all connected. We just forget.
We do. We absolutely do forget that. And we are 100% connected, every one of us. And not just as people, but our animals that we have, the little critters that run around this world with us.
True.
We're all connected.
Yes.
Even the trees, the
absolutely.
plants.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. It was amazing.
Good. Do you think you'll be able to do anything like that in the future?
I dream of it.
Yeah.
I dream of it. I have some, family, I would call them just like chosen family out in the plains, and they do sun dances every August. And I've really wanted to go back and just be a part of that, because it's just very, I don't want to say otherworldly, but you do just feel like you're not here. Yeah. And I think that's what we all need, right? I think you get so caught up in the day-to-day that you sort of lose that grounding. And for me, it's been a very big part of my life. So, yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you feel a little disconnected from your culture. I am Hawaiian. I think I told you that before. And I feel disconnected from my culture as well. Talk to me a little bit about that, like feeling disconnected from your culture, because we are here in Boise, Idaho.
It's something that I feel like I grapple with every day. When you are not raised around your people, when you don't have that close proximity to your people, your circle seems a lot smaller. And for me, I grew up very independently. By 16, I was on my own. I got pregnant very young, and so I did a lot of my life by myself because my parents weren't very approving of my choices. And so that, I think, even made it smaller, because it's like they are my lifeline to my culture, and without them being there all the time, we lose ourselves. We lose our language. We lose those moments of, memories or stories that get passed down. And I feel like I lost that for a long time. And honestly, I need to have like a shirt that says, "Sis, go to therapy," because I tell this to everybody. I'm like, therapy has helped me so much to be like, it's okay. It's okay to feel like disconnected. It's what you create from that. Whether it's traveling to the homeland, the motherland, often, and touching that earth, touching those buildings. I went to Mexico City, which is not where I'm from, where my ancestors are from, but there was just this like, oh, I'm home, And so I think I encourage everyone to find that in anything. If it's the souvenir that you bring back from the motherland, you know whose hands made that. It's us. We are connected, right? It's the clay, it's the wood. But yeah, it's been hard. And I think as you know, our parents age, it feels even more disconnecting because you know that like with them, that might die. And then what do you have?
Yeah.
Then then you rely on yourself to, you know, find that again or to make those connections on your own.
Yeah. My tutu, which means grandma in Hawaiian, she turns 90 in just a couple of weeks. And I'm not able to make it there for her birthday, but I do plan on going later this year. And I'm going to take this whole setup with me. And I want to record her. And I want her to tell me and us those stories before they're gone.
Yes.
Because my papa, which is my dad's dad, he's the Hawaiian. My tutu is Filipino.
Okay.
And while she's not from the Philippines, her dad is. I went to the Philippines, was it last year? 2024.
That was the year.
That was the year we were in B-Wise. Did I go to the Philippines?
I feel like you went somewhere.
Okay.
Either Hawaii or to the Philippines.
Then it would have been the Philippines because I have not been to Hawaii since before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I went to go try to find my family, and I couldn't find our family. But because it's my tutu's dad who came to Hawaii from the Philippines, she has those stories, and I want to capture them before she goes. Yeah. And when I got there, especially when I got to my family's island. So the Philippines, I should know this, but I don't. It's a multitude of islands, like 800 or something. It's a ton of islands. And one of the islands is called Leyte, and that's where my family is from. And so I specifically went to Leyte after I had accomplished what I had gone there to do originally. And stepping foot on that island, you can feel it.
Yes.
Where you're just like, oh my God, this is our home.
Yes.
This is where my family's from. It was amazing.
I hope you find the stories. I hope you find the people. I mean, what a journey.
I know.
And also just like having that for future generations.
Yes, exactly.
That's so important to contribute something for the future generations. I mean, imagine looking down 7 generations from now and being like, yeah, my great auntie from back then, you know, recorded these stories for us.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Have you passed your culture down to your kids? Or tried to?
I tried. I've tried. I think where I was when my kids were little was such a hard spot that they didn't have grandparents around. And so they didn't learn Spanish. So I think they also sort of struggle with that. The fact that like they never learned as kids. And so with my granddaughters, it's different now. It's like we talk, we try to speak it. We try to always just, have that around. And luckily, thanks to you, you invited us to Giraffe Laugh to a luncheon.
Yes, I did.
Man, that was life-changing for us because my granddaughters go there.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, so after that luncheon, I never even knew what Giraffe Laugh was. I know we're like segueing into this, but I have to say it because I always talk about this. I wasn't expecting to have them. I wasn't expecting for the change to happen. I just was like, I want my girls to go there. And was expecting my daughter to just like uproot her life and move to Boise just so we could be a part of Giraffe Laugh. And so we were on a waiting list for about 6 months. And then the call happened and, we were able to put them in Giraffe Laugh, and they've been there. They actually just graduated preschool from there like a week or so ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it was so adorable. And I just thought of you so much because I'm like, if it wasn't for you taking us to this luncheon that I had no idea, like I was just like, Giraffe, what is that? And watching it I probably would have never signed them up.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were looking for daycares out here, we went to several, and there was a stark difference. I mean, it was scary, the other schools that we toured that were just like, because I was looking for I was just looking for something specific and like, what's the difference between this and this? And I wouldn't see it. And then we got to go tour Giraffe Laugh. And the first thing I noticed as we opened the door were the teachers looking straight at the girls and saying, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. What's your name?" Like that acknowledgement to them first before me was what I was looking for in all these other daycares and was not. I mean, we toured probably like 10.
Oh my goodness. Well, and just to use, I'm going to use a business term, but those little girls, they're the clients.
Yes.
You're paying for it or, like registering them, but they're the clients.
Yes. Yes. And that, I mean, and that's never changed. It's never changed about Giraffe Laugh for me. It's always that. They always say hi to the girls first or, they have a summer program where they have fresh food that always comes to the school. And so there's boxes of fresh vegetables all the time. And so in the summertime, I'm rushing to get us out the door and they're just like, "I want eggplant and I want and I'm like, "Girl, you don't even know what that is because it's not, what we normally eat." But we're going home and making new recipes. We made curry one day with like this yellow squash that they had not eaten before and they loved it. And it was just like, had we not ended up here, would we be doing this?
No, probably not.
It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the highlights that I always talk about when I talk about Giraffe Laugh, aside from the awesome teachers. I love them.
They are so great.
Yeah, shout out Giraffe Laugh. I'm not going to say which one.
Giraffe Laugh in Leadership Boise, you are assigned a family, and a family is like anywhere from 5 to 7 people. And in that first year, you pick a nonprofit to support. And the chamber, Leadership Boise and the chamber gives you a list. And Giraffe Laugh was on the list, and my family picked Giraffe Laugh. And that's how I got introduced to them. Is they were our nonprofit that we supported. And so I've been to a couple of their different locations. There was one day, not everyone in our family could make it, but we needed to help put together tricycles. Oh. So we built trikes. And then the 3 of us that were there had a tricycle race as these big adults. And I'm a smaller adult, but one of our family members, his name is Jesse, and he's super tall. And I got video of him on that trike, and I beat him because his knees kept hitting the handlebars.
Oh, you guys had to take him on a test run.
Yep.
I love that. That's so great. Well, they offer, a few of the teachers there are Spanish speakers. So, the girls will come home and say, "Today is miércoles," So it's like, love that. I love that they're using, even if it's just a couple words a day, that they're, learning something. So, yeah, it's been such a great experience. I love them so much. And I just give them props because it's hard. It's hard with these twins and having 16 toddlers running around and the way that they just know how to manage them and keep them wrangled up. It's just, I love it. Yeah. Can't say enough good things about that place. It's a great nonprofit.
It really is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're wonderful. And I love that they're teaching your granddaughters Spanish. My nephew, I have a number of nieces and nephews, but my sister's son, his dad is, I don't know where he's from, but Latino. And so my sister has made sure that her son studied Spanish. Good. And I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know if he does speak it or not, but I'm trying to learn. So next time I see him, I'll try some phrases on him and see how he responds. It could be like, "Auntie, shut up."
Or he corrects you.
Oh, that's true. We'll have to see.
I love that. Yes, culture is so important, especially these days, Just, yeah. It's so important to keep it up, even through food. I think even just through food. And I think that's where I make up for everything else that I don't have, right? It's just like my daughter will come over and, I might have made some fideo, which is like this very delicious comfort kind of soup noodle. And it's so brothy in this like tomato sauce broth, and the kids love it. And the way we always grew up eating it was like mixed in with mayo and beans, and people are just like, what is that? But the girls love it. And so they already know, like, I want fideo, or. But my kids will always just be like, oh my gosh, you made that. Oh, I wish I was there. I think, food is definitely our gateway to our culture.
I would agree. I don't know a ton of Hawaiians here in Boise, but there are a number of them. And last year, I was introduced to an absolutely wonderful and beautiful woman. Her name is Blossom Johnson. And she came to my studio, and she's from Hawaii. Oh. But I think she's been in the mainland, and I believe Boise, because I haven't lived here the whole time I've been in the mainland. But she's been here like since the 70s. So she left Hawaii a lot earlier than I did. But she was older as well. I left when I was 9 years old. And she invited me to a luau last year. And at the luau, that's where you do the food. Yes. And I brought one of my favorite Hawaiian dishes that I'm able to make here in the States. And it's called Lomi salmon. And it's smoked salmon and tomatoes and green onions. And you just mix it all together. And Lomi means massage. So you massage it with your hands. I usually don't tell people this, but the Hawaiians know. They'll know my hands were in that thing. And you massage it, and then you let it sit overnight so that all the juices and everything can mix together. And there's your Lomi salmon.
So it's just tomato, onion, salmon.
Yep.
No lime or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. You can add, actually lime is probably really good for all of it. So yeah, I add some lime to it. Yeah.
I was like, that sounds like ceviche.
It does sound like ceviche. Yeah.
That sounds so good. It's so refreshing.
It is.
Do you eat it with anything?
You can't. So it's kind of like a side dish.
Okay.
And I like putting it next to rice. And then you can buy poi here at some of the Asian stores. I think I've done that once. And poi is ground up taro. And it's like this gray gravy. Very few people outside of Hawaii like it. I think it's delicious. And so you can also mix it with poi.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
We should get a potluck one day.
Yeah,
everybody brings something.
I agree. A potluck and celebrate our cultures, like each person, because even if you are from Idaho, your family's from somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Right. We are all immigrants.
Yes. That would be fun. Okay, I'll set something up. We'll have it here at my studio.
I love it. Yeah. I'll be here.
How else do you celebrate culture with your kids?
How else? Saturday mornings is cleaning day. It's been cleaning day for generations.
Mine's on Sunday.
Yep. And I will turn on music, Spanish music that I grew up listening to, that I still listen to. And also, I will also say that, like, I myself identify as, like, more of, like, Chicana, because I feel like I'm neither from here nor there. Like, it just, right? Like, you're you're not brown enough or you're too brown.
Oh, I've had that problem. Yep.
So, and so for me, there's certain genres that sort of are a part of our culture, but in English, like oldies. Like old school oldies, and that's usually like a Saturday night cruise with your oldies. But yeah, I think Saturday mornings, I feel like is where you wake up and you don't have work that day. You probably might make a big breakfast for the kids, and you got your Ramon Ayala on, or, your Los Bukis, whatever. You grew up listening to.
Yeah.
And they already know. It's like they're in bed and they're like, ugh, it's time to do chores. Mom's up with the music, So it's just like, yeah.
I love that. That's amazing.
What about you?
To bring culture, I have, excuse me, I have 4 names.
Okay.
And in the Hawaiian culture, you are given 2 middle names. One is an English middle name and one is a Hawaiian middle name. And typically your Hawaiian name is given by your Hawaiian parent, whether that's your mom or your dad or both, by their mother. And I don't know if Tutu gave me my middle name, but my middle name is Lokelani. And so I've recently switched from Steph Cullen, which Cullen is my last name. It's always been my last name, except for the few years that I was married. Ugh. And then I went back to Cullen immediately. But now I go by Steph Lokelani because that's my culture. That's my name. Mm-hmm. And I know that it's hard for people, especially because, I'm in my 40s and people are like, did you get married? No, that's my name. So I've done that. And then going back to that Lady Blossom, she and I talked about this because I told her that I don't feel like I'm very Hawaiian because I left when I was 9 years old. My skin is very white, and that comes from my mother, and it also comes from my dad's side. And I don't speak Hawaiian. I used to speak Pidgin. I do understand some of the language, but it's not like I study it every day. And I told her, so I don't really feel Hawaiian. And I even refrained at that point. I had been refraining from using my middle name as who I am. And she was like, honey, don't do that. That is your culture. And it doesn't matter what other people say about you or think about you. You are Hawaiian. Mm-hmm. And I'm also a descendant of King Kamehameha. So I'm like legit Hawaiian. Oh my gosh. So I shouldn't hide that. I shouldn't deny that.
No, and I think we end up doing that, right? Like there's a time where we have this like weird identity crisis where we're just like, well, I don't speak the language. I'm not, immersed in it all the time. And it's like, it's within you. Whether you like it or not, all you're doing is suppressing it from inside.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is in you.
Yeah.
And like you had mentioned, when you went to Mexico City, this is my home. And that's how I feel every time I go home to Hawaii.
Right? If I were to be there, I wouldn't feel that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have the honor of feeling that.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people out there have that same, right? They don't get to experience what it is to know that that's your land. That's who you come from. Yes.
Yeah. And do you think that because of this love for your land and love for your culture, that might be why you enjoy these shaman days and going out there and living off the land and picking the flowers to eat at night?
Honestly, I feel like that is within all of us. Mm-hmm. Whether you have this like native background or not, I think all of us, just as humans, we are from the land.
Yeah.
And every time you go on vacation, every time you go hunting, you are actually giving yourself the experience of your forefathers, right?
You are.
I mean, if you think about it, even a walk through on the greenbelt, maybe instead of walking on the actual path, you walk on the grass, right? I think we all have that in us, and I think, that's the downside of where we are at this day and age. And if you think about it, a lot of us are like, if I could have just lived 150 years ago, right? I think I would survive pretty well. And it's like, that is like the most inner part of you speaking of like, this is your soul talking to you of like, without all this noise, all these cameras, lights, whatever, it's in us.
It absolutely is. And we forget that because we live in concrete jungles.
Yes.
We are constantly in front of a computer. And, that's not everybody's job is to sit in front of a computer, but you are working, you're doing something.
Right.
And most of the time it has nothing to do with the land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I went to Standing Rock back in 2016. And I think that was the first time that I felt so awakened. Ooh. Because there, they had this one huge area right off the Cannonball River that was just sovereign. And what does it mean to live free? Mm-hmm. It's that there was no money there. Mm-hmm. Everything was exchanged. I was part of a kitchen, which was my goal the entire time. Was like, I just want to find a kitchen. Remember my shaman asking me, what are you going to do there? I don't know. I think I just want to find a kitchen. And I ended up finding one. And the cook, Winona, we were getting ready to feed a bunch of people. I think Patricia Arquette had just been through there. She came, she was like talking to people, and I'm just like, can y'all just move? We're trying to cook here. But there came a point where we were like, we had so many people we were trying to serve, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're down to one loaf of bread. And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. It'll come to us. And I'm just like, I don't know. Are you sure? Just like trying to figure out this, like trying to solve that problem while I'm trying to feed all these people. And sure enough, this kid comes up to us, just rushed up to us. And he's like, is there anything I could do for you guys? And she was like, yeah, go find us some bread. And he's like, all right. Comes back 5 minutes later with like all this bread and drops it off. And she's like, see my girl?
Wow.
She's like, it always comes, and it was that moment where you're just like, slow down. Why are you worried? Just the way in which community is built there or was built in this place. It just felt like you were free, like you were going to get what you needed no matter what. Donations were piling in from all over the world. And so no one was going to go without. You just had to trust. And yeah, it definitely showed me that being there. And also just showed me how much of that I needed and didn't realize I needed. Because up until that point, I was a mom. I was working, trying to survive. I was on survival mode. And once I was introduced to, these people, I just saw life so differently. And I feel like I've never really went back to that, to before that.
Wow.
Like once you're awakened, how can you go back?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You can't.
No, you can't.
You're functioning in, what it is to live in life these days, but there's something in your heart that is like, you just know that it's more than this. There's more purpose than this. So yeah, it was beautiful. I don't know what the question was. I don't know how we got there, but
I love that. What made you decide to go?
It was the strangest calling. So the shaman had a lot to do with this. In 2015, we had done a sweat. The next morning I wake up and she says, you're going to go to the ocean and the ocean has a message for you. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I was just like, okay, you're tripping. I'd never been to the ocean. So I was like, it just always felt so unattainable to me. Like it was not something that we would ever see. And so in 2016, I took my kids. Well, in 2016, I started noticing these lives that would come through from North Dakota, and people are, asking people like, come out and help. Like they are desecrating sacred sites. This big oil company was trying to build a pipeline right under the Missouri River. And they had actually gone through Bismarck, North Dakota, or they were going to, but the residents of that town fought it. And so they're like, well, we'll just go down to the res, And even after all the back and forth litigation, they ended up starting to drill. And so people were actively out on the ground trying to raise awareness, trying to stop. I mean, there were women even chaining themselves to the machines. And so it was Labor Day weekend. And I was just so, like, I could not take my focus off of this. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't. And I remember the kids and I wanted to go to Portland for the weekend, and they were like, Mom, we should go to the ocean. We've never been. And I'm like, let's see what's nearby. And there was like Oceanside's an hour away from Portland. So we go, and I was just in awe because we'd never been. And I'm just sitting there, on the beach, just my eyes closed. And I was just, praying with gratitude for having us there, because it was just so grand. I mean, you know what it is. Like being at the ocean is just a whole other feeling.
Oh, it is.
It was just like, whoa, like, I can't believe I'm here. Closed my eyes for a moment, and something said, you need to go to Standing Rock. And I opened my eyes and I was like, was that me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did I say that? Did that just come to me? And so anyway, we start heading back. We're on the highway coming out of Portland, heading back home. all of a sudden I see this caravan of like 7-8 vehicles, and they all have like mini wichoni and water is life and just on, and it's like, what are the odds? What are the odds that I'm seeing all these? And those are all just like taglines that they would use. So I knew where they were going. They were headed to Standing Rock. So it was just like, okay. And so after that, I came back. I had told my boyfriend at the time, like, I feel like I need to do something. He's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I feel like we need to, gather donations for them, something. And he's like, all right, well, I got your back, whatever you want to do. And so in November and December of 2016, we reached out to the community, Boise, even Utah, even Oregon. People were sending us donations.
Wow.
And we held some vigils and just did all kinds of different events. And we ended up going in November and December of 2016. So it was very life-changing.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's amazing.
And so if I hadn't seen the shaman, if I hadn't had this relationship with her, would I have gone?
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was crazy how it all just kind of led up to that.
Yeah. Well, and I think there are people that are put into our lives for various reasons. Mm-hmm. And I think you would have figured out that you should have done that. But she was the helpful vehicle, your shaman, to help kind of push you in the right direction and give you those notes.
I agree.
Yeah, I see an energy reader here in Boise. I need to text her. I need to see her again. But there have been things that she's told me that have really helped me make sure that I stay on my path with my business and with my life and the decisions that I'm making. And she's been that little tiny voice that is a nice reminder at times where, you face different questions in your life and your business. And you're like, what did Penny say? Oh, she said, oh, okay. Yep. There it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's always nice to have someone there as a teacher, just as a guide sometimes. Because I feel like, there's moments in life where you're just like, am I making the right decisions here? Which it's like, I'm pretty intuitive. I most of the time follow what my intuition says. I think there's been times in life where you're just like, maybe I should consult with someone else.
Yeah. Well, especially if they're like the big ideas where you're like, okay, let's take a step back for a second.
Yep. Yeah. And at the time I wasn't doing therapy or anything like that. So it was like, yeah. But it was so interesting when that happened because when I came back, I was homeless. I had lost my home, which shouldn't have happened, but it did.
Wow.
And I came back with nothing. We were talking about detachment earlier.
Yes.
I had nothing except, in fact, some of the clothes I thought I had ended up being donated. So, I mean, I had nothing. Whatever was in my vehicle was what I had. And there was a friend here that had given me her RV. And so I was sleeping out of that for a while. And then I had to move. And so I was like couch surfing for like a year. It was the weirdest time of my life, right? It was so weird. Because then I was just like, what did I do this for? Right? But in 2020, that was in 2018, I did a few jobs. And then in 2020, there was an opening at Idaho Housing for customer service. And I'm thinking it's like a receptionist job, but it's actually for customer service. And so that's where I started for IHFA, was working as bilingual customer service. And during that time, someone had posted an announcement for an apartment that was opening. So I went for it. I mean, I did all the juju to get that apartment. I was so grateful for it. We got our apartment. And little did I know that apartment had home funds through my current department where I'm at now. So there was a time where there were some like maintenance issues that were going on, and they were basically displacing us. They were putting us in a hotel, and my daughter was about to give birth, and so I was just kind of scared because I was like, she's gonna give birth any day. And so there's a bunch of back and forth with the folks at this apartment complex, and they were like, well, you need to talk to so-and-so, the compliance manager. And it just is this full circle moment, because after dealing with all that as a customer service rep, I went on to become like a tax specialist. And then I ended up in the home program, which is who helped fund those apartments. And I now work with the people that I had reached out to for this thing. So it's just been, working for IHFA has just been like this whole full circle part of the plan.
Wow.
In a weird, crazy way, because it's like I went from being that tenant to working on, underwriting and helping fund, these projects for, affordable housing projects for Idaho. So it's just been an interesting ride.
Yeah,
to be
girl.
on the side of that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to a question that I want to ask you. What brought you here to this moment today? And you can start as early as you want to. And it could be this moment in this chair, or it could be this moment in your life. But what brought you here?
I would say my boss, Jack Hawkins, who retired, because I feel like when I applied for this position, they had been looking for somebody for a while, is what I hear. And our HR person actually reached out to me when I was a tax specialist and was like, you need to consider that job. And I went around asking people, like, would you work for him? And one of the ladies that used to work in that building was like, you would be stupid not to take this job. They are the coolest people. And I was like, I don't know. His profile picture on LinkedIn or on Paylocity doesn't look that friendly. Like, I'm like, I don't know. But, and I think at first he can probably attest to this, that I was apprehensive, but he saw something in me that I probably didn't see in myself. And so when opportunities like BYP came up, he was like, go for it, do it. When there were advances, like, going promotions and stuff like that, he would encourage me. And we're building this new position, you should apply. And so to have that type of belief, because I went in as an admin assistant in that department. So within a year, I was a coordinator for the multifamily projects and getting, familiar with like, how do those get underwritten? What do the closing calls look like? And to now being like the finance officer for project finance, which is the other part of, the work that we do. It's more like tax credit. Yeah, just always believing in me. And I don't think I would be here if he wouldn't have, signed off on BYP. So yeah, I feel like a lot of especially my professional growth, is thanks to his just always believing in me. And I always give him, I always give him slack whenever we see each other, because like he'll invite us, his wife and he are part of the Learning Lab.
I know Learning Lab.
Yes, I know you do. I saw your videos. I was like, oh, that's my mentor. Yeah, so they invite us. They'll always, and that's the other thing is like, it's my boss that goes, like one of our managers and our VP, and I get invited to this thing, and I'm just like, but it's amazing to be considered like that, and also just learning about different, things that are going on in Boise. But yeah, it's a huge deal for me, and such an honor that, he sees me the way that he does.
It's good to have someone in your corner like that.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of people have that. So
Right.
when you have that person, hold on to them. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he was definitely like a mentor. Yes. And honestly, all of our bosses in home and project finance, because my VP Corey is also that, and Rhiannon, Avery was also they were just so instrumental in like my growth there. Yeah, it's been cool.
That's awesome.
I love that. And it is such a blessing to be able to work somewhere where you're actually like excited about the work and fascinated by it. I'm never bored. I'm always challenged. And that there's so much flexibility, which is something I'll say that IHFA does offer is, I mean, not saying that they don't offer much, but I'm saying like something that maybe people don't realize is that like every 6 months, or I should say like after you've been with them for 6 months or in a position for 6 months, you can go on and try something else that you've never worked in before.
Wow.
They let you, you can go anywhere. You can try for any other position. And I would always encourage people to do that. Because why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I came into this with customer service skills and maybe like, receptionist skills. And I did do a little bit of coordination and things like that when I worked in North Dakota. But yeah, my background was not in housing or anything like that. So yeah, I think that's what's brought me here is the people that ran IHFA for a while.
That's awesome.
Or one leg of it.
Well, and without that, the ability to have those opportunities open to you, you might never find what your true calling is. Because there are people who, some people know, they go throughout their life and they're like, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
And then there are some who don't have that answer. And so to be able to be in a job where they say, okay, you've been here for 6 months, what do you want to try?
Yeah.
And you could be like, well, I guess it would be fun to try video production, like as an example. Right. And all of a sudden you found your calling.
Yes, absolutely. So there's, I don't know if you're familiar with Breaking Chains out in Nampa.
Yes, not very familiar, but I have heard of them.
You should connect with them.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit for just like they say at-risk youth. And they help them get like their GED high school equivalency. Really cool program. It's near and dear to my heart because I was a GED kid and I almost didn't get my GED. So I always just say like, bless the people who show up every day for these kids. And so last year, with the help of Leslie Perkins at IHFA, she's in like the marketing team. I reached out and I was like, is there any way that we could get these kids to come through and like get a tour, maybe see what it's like to be in customer service or anywhere else. And they can see the possibilities because you're right. Like, even if you don't know, how to answer phones, like that's pretty basic. You can get somewhere with that. But just with that, foot in the door, and maybe knowing a couple people, you never know where your life can take you. And so it was a really cool experience to have them there. They showed up. We kind of did a tour of the building, fed them lunch, talked about the different programs that we have. And yeah, I'm always just like still in contact with them because I'm like, if anybody ever wants to come out here, I think it would be cool. And one of the kids actually was just like, I want to get my real estate license. And so one of the, I think he's a supervisor, maybe manager over at the customer service department has his real estate license and is bilingual. So they were like, we can connect. So it was just like really cool opportunity to do that. And for IHFA to be okay with that was so awesome. It was such a cool thing.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons I enjoy when I get invited to speak at like elementary schools and junior high schools to show kids, look, you can be a video producer. You can create this stuff. It's not just YouTube.
Yes.
Like you can do all kinds of things. And that's when you're just giving them that little, maybe
planting
a push.
A seed.
Yeah, planting a seed. Thank you. You're planting the seed of, you don't have to do everything that all these adults are saying this is the route you should take.
Yes.
There are so many other options out there for you.
That's right. And, trade school, no further education outside of like your diploma, like all of that is open.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be college.
Nope, it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome that you get to do that.
I do.
That's
I haven't.
So fun.
A lot of that came while I worked at HP. It was through those connections. And so I haven't done it in a while, but I have been talking to the Boys and Girls Club. So Cassandra from Giraffe Laugh moved over to Boys and Girls Club. And she contacted me recently. And I'm actually going to see her tonight. And we've kind of talked about giving some kids a tour of my studio and being like,
Oh my gosh,
look, this is
yes.
something, you could consider doing, or even like a hobby if you want. But these options are available to you
That's
out there.
awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to have like interns at some point.
Yes. I've had a couple over the years, and that's always been fun. And then what I've transitioned to doing, if people come to me to be an intern, I say, okay, I need you to write me a 500-word paper about why you want to intern with me. And that not everybody wants to do that. And it's like, well, then maybe you don't really want to be an intern. I'm not asking a ton. I'm not going to grade it.
Yeah.
I just want to know why you want to work with me.
Yeah. Hey, it takes work to get
It
there.
does, yes.
Getting up every day, doing whatever you have to do by any means necessary. Writing something is not a big deal.
No. And I mean, I even take pauses on writing emails sometimes. I'm like, okay, I guess I better answer that one today.
Yeah.
But still, it's a thing that you have to do as an adult.
Right. Right. Now, if you're asking them to do it in cursive with pencil, number 2 pencil,
Which I'm not, but I should.
add to the challenge.
Yes.
It's crazy to me that some people don't, or some kids are not learning cursive.
I know.
That is wild to
I
me.
used to practice that all the time because I wanted to
still
make
do.
mine like perfect.
Yes.
Oh, you still do? There are moments because I still handwrite all my notes,
Yeah.
and I'll look at it and I'll be like, "Oh, girl, your handwriting. We need to work on that."
That's my like shorthand is cursive.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I never lost it.
Well, because it's so easy because you connect all the letters together.
Totally.
It's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's like your kids are like, what is that? I have one kid who doesn't write it. She doesn't write cursive. And I'm like, yeah, her signature is just like a D with a line.
Okay, then.
So crazy. Yeah. Times have changed.
Times certainly have changed. And a signature like that does make it easy when you have to write it with a mouse. Like when
True.
you sign online paperwork.
Yeah.
I never get that right.
Right. That's true. I know. It's so pixelated.
It is. Well, that looks like a T for sta. This'll work.
No, I love cursive. I love calligraphy. Yeah. Do you dabble in any other hobbies outside of this?
That is a really good question. I love music. And I don't pull out. I used to play the violin when I was a kid. I do not pull that out as often as I should. I have a piano in my house. I occasionally will tinker on it.
Yeah.
And so I should do that more. But no, I don't.
We don't feed into our creativity as much as we should as adults.
No, we don't. We don't at all. Because, most of my stuff goes to my clients.
Right.
And I do like riding my bike. I need to get back out on my bicycle.
That's fun.
I fixed the chain on it last night.
There
Because
you
I made a
go.
promise I'm in a coaching club / cohort for 8 weeks. And one of the assignments was to go out and do an activity that brings you flow and finds you in flow. And I was like, well, riding my bike is flow. Like I lose track of time when I ride my bike. And I was supposed to ride my bike this week and I didn't. But I put my chain back on my bike last night.
Hey, the week is not over yet.
It's not. And that was a step. I put the chain on my bicycle. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be.
That's a cool hobby, though. I want to learn.
To ride a bicycle?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. I know the babies, they want to learn. They want to be out there. We live in a really cool area. So, everybody's on a bike.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So they should be learning. Maybe for their birthday.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to drive to get to a place to ride bikes. I could ride my bike there, and I have, but there are no bike lanes.
Ooh.
And some streets have sidewalks, some don't. And you really shouldn't ride on the sidewalk when you're going as fast as I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I drive my bike to a place where I can then ride it.
Yeah, it's a bit scary. I get so intimidated by just even riders being on the side, like next to me. Like I just get so scared, which, I don't know for anybody else, but like it forces me to slow down. It forces me to be right there, attentive to what I'm doing. Not saying that I'm careless, but I think moving to Boise definitely slowed me down on the road.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. Because in Canyon County, I mean, you get occasional riders, but I think it's very pedestrian and rider friendly out here.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I often think about riding my bike, like to come here or to go do things downtown. And then I think about all the things I carry with me. Backpack, gym bag, lunch bag. Yeah, that's not all fitting on a bicycle in me.
Just get a little cart.
I know I should.
Your little trunk.
All right. I have one final question for you.
Okay. Let's do this.
And this question is, when you take away the titles, the labels, all of that, who are you at your core?
Oh my God. I can't say it on here.
That's okay. That's an answer.
I think I'm just living a human experience. It's whatever I wake up that day feeling.
Ooh.
I don't really have, because I'm still actually trying to figure that out myself. I mean, I was an empty nester for a year, and then I'm back at motherhood. So it's strange when I get downtime, and when I do, I'm like, who is that? Mm-hmm. When you're raised to be a parent, you grow up in a household where it's like parenting is part of, being a kid.
That was my childhood as well.
So, it's hard to know who you are. And if you've done it for so long, I mean, I was a kid, and then I had kids, and then, had grandkids. So it's like, who am I today? It's whoever I wake up being that day.
I think that's a beautiful answer. It really is. Because, so I recently was trying to figure out what my values are. I know what my values are, but like, what are they really? Mm-hmm. And what wakes you up in the morning? Mm. And my answer to that was always, well, my dog and my cats, as a joke and as a legit thing.
Right.
They need to get fed. And they are there to tell me every morning, Mom, I'm starving.
Yes.
But also they get me out of bed because they're my babies and I like spending time with them and I want to be awake and loving on them. But what I discovered through a bit of a process is what really gets me out of bed is the thought of adventure that day. Whatever that adventure might be, this conversation is an adventure.
Yes.
And so that's so similar to you. It's what is today going to bring? It's whatever the adventure ends up being.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I love that. Because yes, same. Good or bad, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Good or bad. And that's how we started today. Before we started rolling, as we were talking about life and lessons. Mm. Lessons can be good and lessons can be bad. But they're lessons, they're for us.
Or there are no lessons.
We did talk about that because you could be going through something really big and maybe there's no lesson in it. It's just what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me open up. Like this was cool.
Good. You're welcome.
Yeah, this was cool.
Good. Thank you for opening up.
And it's been awesome. Like just seeing you on there, the different adventures that you've gone on, what you're up to, and being able to catch up. Cool.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's been a while since we've spoken. Yeah. I'm so glad we got to do this.
Likewise. Yes.
And we'll need to get the gang back together again.
Right.
I run into Dylan every once in a while, more than anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw each other at some nonprofit fundraising event. I think 2 different ones.
Oh, cool.
Where it was like, oh, hello. Hello again.
Love that.
Yeah.
Shout out the team. Shout out the group.
Yeah, exactly. So
fun.
we'll have to do something. I just saw Anthony on LinkedIn did some golf tournament or something. I was like, oh yeah, Anthony.
I know. I used to hang out, during BYP events, and then I fell off. We haven't really chatted since. So.
Okay, I'll try to put something together for all of us. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank all of you for joining for another episode of The Essence of You. And we will catch you again next time.